Chris Schwenk, with over 15 years in tech recruiting, has made it his mission to make the tech world easier to understand and enter for job seekers. He is not just about finding people jobs. He's about teaching them the skills that they need, like how to write a great resume or network effectively. Chris has gone beyond his job by using social media and his Tech Jobber podcast to share advice and stories from the tech world, helping thousands find their place in the industry. Listening to Chris isn't just about learning how to get a tech job. It's about becoming part of a bigger community that's driving the future of technology. His journey and advice are worth paying attention to, especially for anyone interested in breaking into tech. Chris, bro, thank you so much, man, for being on Tech is New Black.
Yeah, we've talked about this for a while, and
yeah,
finally have a reason to come and something to promote. So
yeah. I mean, low-key, I know you did it because now you got the Tech Jobber podcast, and this is gonna take over Tech is New Black. So you're like, yo, let me show you how it's done. No, jokes aside, man. Dude, it's been really cool getting to know you. Mm-hmm. And I mean, just from when we were first introduced, and then just, you know, us linking up, us getting a brunch together and talking, me learning more about what it is that you do. Mm-hmm. And then really just me seeing like the content you've been dropping on social media. It's been really fire. Like you correcting things, myths, things that people are getting wrong. You kind of adding some extra things, some things that people are getting right when it comes to the application, the interviewing, recruitment space. Yep. So it's been really cool to see, and I'm really excited about things you're doing. But most importantly, I'm hype about you being here on Tech is New Black.
Yeah. So I do a lot of reactions to tech videos. Obviously, you guys pop up a lot, and you guys have had some great videos to react to as well. So
yeah, hey, bro, we love it. We love it straight up. And yeah, and I'll say this. This goes without saying, but you know, you would do this either way. But I still just want to let you know, if there's ever something that we get wrong, bro, correct us, like straight up. So. And definitely correct us. We're gonna start reposting some of your stuff as well. I've been telling our VAs to start doing that because we have a list of people's content that we repost. Yeah, and literally was like, hey, like we need to start reposting some of these things as well. You've been doing some pretty fire stuff. Yeah. All right, man. So look, we got a few things to talk about. So let's go ahead and jump into it.
Absolutely.
All right, cool. So the past 2 years, we've heard about on and off hiring, on and off layoffs across all industries, but most prevalently we've heard about it as being in the tech space. Yeah. Now, you are actually in the trenches between companies and new hires. And what I want to be very clear about, and this is why this interview is so important for everybody who's listening and watching, is that Chris has not just been a recruiter working like internally at tech companies, but he has worked externally with tech companies as well. If you actually explain to everyone, because I'm going to do a horrible job butchering trying to explain what kind of recruitment or what kind of work that you've actually done and the value that you bring to this conversation.
Yeah. So you've had some amazing internal recruiters. Mm-hmm. And what I do is a bit different. So it's part headhunter. Big company will have those big needs. Maybe the internal recruiter can't find a high level person. Yeah, that's where they pay me. Also, there's a massive market in tech for hourly jobs, staff augmentation, where they need extra help for a period of time, maybe project based, and or maybe they just need someone temporary to see how it goes, and then maybe convert them down the line. Yeah, right. So that's staff augmentation. And a lot of people think hourly. When you think hourly, you think, McDonald's is paying people $20 an hour now, right? Or Amazon, Amazon's paying $25. Yeah. Right. So in tech, there's a massive industry where, you can get the salary jobs with the bonus benefits. That's great. Mm-hmm. There's also a whole sub-industry of hourly jobs, and I have people making $50 to $100 an hour, which is good. But then when you add on top of that, when you get paid hourly, it can be even better because, 5 o'clock, you're done. Whereas, unless they want to pay more.
That's true. Versus, salary, you're just, that's just what you get.
Yeah, because listen, we all have someone in our lives that is making 150 to 200K. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's good. Yeah. But they're working nights and weekends. Yeah. And it's not like, and we know entrepreneurs that do that, but they own the business.
Exactly.
This person has kind of the hours of an entrepreneur, and they're on a salary. Yeah. So basically the hourly rates, it kind of protects against that.
That's crazy. I never even thought about that.
Yeah. And then you think about it, it's like you have a lot of time to, what are you going to do from 5 till you go to bed?
Yeah.
Second job, maybe get into real estate. There's a lot of opportunity, or maybe you consult on another project.
Yeah.
And then you're double dipping.
Yeah.
So a lot of opportunities like that. That's a space I've dealt with for the last 15 years.
Okay, cool.
So
you have helped companies. So doing contracts with companies to where you, like you mentioned, as a headhunter, you would go out, you would find people that were talented, skilled, as good candidates to fit for these roles.
Yep. So they'll need, their PeopleSoft needs, they want to implement it. Right.
Okay.
So they need a project manager with PeopleSoft implementation experience. So myself and all my competitors, we go out and we try to find the best PeopleSoft implementation guy.
Yeah.
Okay. We all present them, they interview and they pick one. One of us wins, the rest of us lose.
I didn't even realize it was that. So when you mentioned hunter, I'm thinking, okay, you just get the job, you go out, find the person, but that's actually crazy. So you're literally competing with your competitors in real time, not in a theoretical way where it's like, okay, if you're not successful, your contract ends and now they go with someone else, but it's per like opportunity you could lose out.
Yep.
Man.
And you never know what the companies are going to hire next. You just kind of always have to be ready. And right now it's extremely tough. So we can get into that too.
Man, big respect to you, because I didn't realize it was that grueling. Like that's like a real, like you eat what you kill type of thing.
Oh yeah.
That's heavy.
There's usually 8 to 10 vendors. A lot of these places, sometimes more, sometimes less, but one of us wins.
Yeah.
And the rest get 0. So,
there can only be one.
Yes. Yes.
All right, cool. So now, as I was saying, so you're in the trenches. I want to at least highlight exactly what it is you do to give like real perspective to everyone. Now, what is the tech career market like today versus what it was like? Because a couple years ago, we had spoke before. I know you had referenced in 2022, you had did roughly about half a million.
Yeah.
And so what is the market like today? And what are some of the challenges that you're facing, as well as challenges that you see people are actually facing versus what we're hearing in the news?
Yeah. So, I'll start with the bad, right?
Yeah.
So we know the big tech layoffs.
Yeah.
So, and then obviously they're hiring a lot less. They're laying off and not hiring as much. A lot of good candidates on the market, right? And a lot of top level candidates from the big tech. Also, this was one of the worst IPO years. 2023 was, I should say. So startups would soak up a lot of good tech talent as well. So that was another kind of haven for good talent.
Okay.
So now 2023 was the first year where I would say, usually if I have, you kind of like internally rank a person as far as a candidate for a job. If I had an 8 out of 10, I was going to fill the job.
Yeah.
2023 was the first year where 8.5s, no. Man. Got beat out by a 9. 9.0s, 9.2 beat me out. Dang. So yeah, it was brutal. And, it was rough for even the best of them. Therefore, the mid-level talent got squeezed even more. So it was bad, but it's actually worse than reported because
wow.
So in COVID, obviously there was mass hiring. There were, everyone was hired remote, but and given big money. So a big company, I just talked to a guy the other day. Let's just say Rainforest. I won't give out any names. We'll use codename Rainforest.
Okay, codename Rainforest.
Yes. Okay. So they hired this guy, obviously, and this particular company is based in Seattle, right? So they hired this guy in North Carolina. Okay. Give him $400,000 or $500K for just a tech management level job. That's pretty damn good.
That's nice.
Right.
Yeah.
I know VP is not making that much money.
Yeah.
So that's great. And now suddenly they say, we're going back to the office. Well,
yeah.
What? I live in North Carolina.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, well, you got to come into Seattle. Well, what? We're giving you a $5K in reload.
$5K?
Right. So again, that's a layoff.
Yeah.
Right.
I've heard that's a different version of the way they do layoffs.
Yeah. So that's a layoff that they don't have to report, doesn't hit the news, but those layoffs also happen. So a lot of people signed up and yeah, I mean, they hired you remote, but there was nothing saying it was always going to be remote. And so a lot of these people were making crazy money. And now they got squeezed out of the job. Now they're back in the job market. There's no $400,000 or $500,000 for tech management. Yeah, that was an anomaly. So it's bad it's bad overall, but certain skill sets, man, there's just endless opportunities.
Yeah, okay.
Particularly Python.
Yeah.
So everything you read about AI, machine learning, data science, data analysis, data engineering, it all requires Python.
Okay.
And there's others just straight Python engineers, $200,000-$300,000. There's no one to do them. Man, there is a lack of talent there. I'm assuming a lot of your listeners are kind of, people looking to, okay, which way should I go?
Yeah.
And I get obviously less than you, but I get a lot of people asking me what should I get into? I said, all right, well, what's a good fit for you? Try Python.
Yeah.
If some of the other things don't kind of ring true, maybe, obviously tech sales, which really well. If that's not for you, look into Python. Yeah. Because AI is coming / it's already here. Yeah. And these language models, they all require Python. Yeah. So it's going to be a mad rush for these people. Yeah. So
man, so that's good. It's so interesting because I love that you touched on that, how you highlighted, hey, the bad is actually worse than what's being reported because there's other elements to it that people aren't seeing. But then there's also this white space over here where you're like, hey, like there's like crazy demand for this and not enough people to fill this. Yeah. And so it's always interesting. It's like no matter what's happening in the market, whenever there's a downturn, there's an upside in some kind of way. Like I even think about, the whole tech boom that happened during 2020 and a lot of it being caused by what was happening with the whole jab and the pandemic and everything like that. And how, that hurt many companies. But then we saw other companies like Amazon, Zoom, and others where they just took off. Exploded. Because of what was happening in the market. Yeah. And it's really interesting how, and I'm sharing this because I want you all to hear what he said and hear it on a higher level that can benefit you throughout life, where no matter what's happening in the marketplace, where things seem to turn bad, there's always an opportunity somewhere else, whether it's for work or it's for like business. There's always some opportunity. It's just the tough part is finding like, okay, what is that opportunity that's going on in this space? How have you, this is a bit of a beeline from our conversation or the questions that we have here. How have you in your space, what challenges, well, I'm not gonna say what challenges have you faced. I mean, it's pretty obvious, but what are ways that you've had to figure out how to like make like a slight pivot or make like a slight adjustment within your space?
So since COVID changed, obviously a lot, right? Yeah. But my job it's a totally different job now. Okay. It used to be kind of like a pharma rep. Almost. I'm doing 5 lunches a week. I came from Philly, so we do 1 or 2 Sixers games a month, do a happy hour. That's how you got in front of people. Yeah. And then that all changed because you really couldn't get in front of people you didn't already know well. Yeah. So, and also no one was in the office. Well, if you're in an office 5 days a week and I'm saying, let's get out for lunch, you're just like, all right, yeah, fine. I just want to get out. Yeah, exactly. If I'm pulling you out from your home, it's a little tougher sell. It's like, I don't know this guy, what? So business development became extremely tough. Yeah. And also a lot of things got even tougher because, I mean, you used to be able to send 100 emails like, hey, do you have any openings? Let's meet up. But probably get 3 to 5 good responses. Yeah, work on this. Yeah, let's meet up. Great. Not now, but let's meet in a month. Fine. I send 1,000 to 1,500 emails a day, cold emails, and you get maybe 1 response. So, wow. Yeah.
Talk about tech sales and that's even worse. That's crazy.
Yeah. So it's, so that changed a lot. And then LinkedIn used to be a bread and butter for recruiting. Yeah. At least what I do. as far as getting new clients. But LinkedIn became a pitch fest overnight.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened. I get like fitness trainers, I'm trying to message hiring managers, but they can't see me because there's like 10 fitness trainers. I'm like, my message is in the middle there. So so LinkedIn became tough. So that's when I started saying like, I need a different way to get in front of people. Well, the new way is get on their phones by producing content. Yeah. So that's how I have pivoted in the last few years.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what led me to kind of get into the content space. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, I know we're going to talk about that some more later, but I at least want to say this right now while it's fresh on my mind, bro. I think your content is going to blow up, dude.
No, thanks.
Like, I know your content is fire, and I'm like, yo, eventually a few of them are going to pop.
Yeah.
And then after that, it's going to be like, the stuff's going to blow up. So don't forget about us, once you take off, stuff like that. All right. So in 2022, your tech staffing business, Delos Staffing, did roughly $500,000. I kind of touched on that a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
Now, what did it take to grow it and transition you from tech sales to get to where you're at today? And how did you determine that companies needed help fulfilling these 6-figure roles?
Yeah. So that was, 2022 was a good year.
Yeah.
Really good year.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think a lot of places in tech, it's always like, you do tech staffing, so you deal with tech companies. I'm like, yeah, but I deal with all companies and their tech needs there. So some of these companies would be like, okay, here's what we need. All right, great. We need a young, smart developer. Mm-hmm. Okay, great. These guys tend to work from home, and it's just, oh, no, we're in the office 5 days a week. Okay. And we're in shirts and ties. I'm like, what developer with his Cheetos and his Mountain Dew is going to put on a shirt and tie and get his ass to your office? So COVID, I'd have these people from these kind of traditional companies like, you know what? We've been working from home for 6 months. It's not so bad. I'm like, yeah, who would have thought? Wow. Yeah, you don't need to be in that crusty office 5 days a week. Unbelievable. Yeah. So I know you're obviously a big remote work advocate.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm a major remote advocate because I think there's just so much time wasted.
Yeah.
Even if you have a short commute, by the time you shower, get your coffee at home, even if you just walk to the office, it's like an hour each side each day at least.
Yeah.
And then compounded. And now it's like, when you talk about people taking on a second job, I'm like, yeah, think about all the extra time they just saved.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I mean, I knew people commuting 2 hours each way. Sometimes it was on the train to New York. But I mean, that is just time you'll never get back.
Yeah.
And valuable time that you can build something else. You can take those skills and work on something on your own. Again, consult on another company's app or something like that. It's an amazing opportunity for people now. So yeah, I mean, I think it's, again, COVID was good as far as hiring, and it kind of accelerated a lot of processes because it was time we, had people work from home.
Yeah.
It was a long time coming. So, for me, it's been great. Now some places are bringing people back to the office, and smart companies are like, okay, well, we'll just cherry pick all the best people for us.
Yeah.
That just want to stay remote. So,
yeah.
So we'll see. It's going to be, there's going to be smart and dumb companies that are forcing people back to the office.
For everyone interested in taking advantage of what's being discussed, you already know that we have the resources to help you. All you need to do is text us at 404-519-2851, or just click the link in the description or on the video, and the Tech is the New Black team will assist you with this or anything else. I've heard different reasons why behind it. And aside from stroking the C-suite's egos, what are reasons that you've heard, like aside from that being a reason, what are reasons that you've heard that they want people back in the offices?
Yeah, well, it's, to me, I don't think there's been lost productivity. And I think that's nonsense. But you have very expensive office leases and very important people that sign those office leases that look stupid. And so that, honestly, that's one main reason. Also, a lot of the big banks, well, they own those office leases. Yeah. So they're kind of setting the tone on, well, we're going back, so, everyone should go back, because, it's a lot of, people borrow to pay for these office leases from the big banks. Yeah. So it's more than just some people have declared, well, everyone's going back, so clearly it was better in offices. I'm like, that's nonsense, Yeah. Especially for what you used to do. I mean, why would you have to go into an office to do tech sales? Yeah. Like you're getting on your Zooms anyway. And I know people that were forced to
go to the office to hop on a Zoom call.
That's what they do. I know people that commute an hour to sit in an empty office on Zooms. Like, that makes no sense. So obviously there are bigger things at play than just what we're talking about, Yeah. So,
all right, bro. So look, we talked a little bit about overemployment. We talked about that here on Tech is New Black. For those that are new, maybe this is your first time watching Tech is New Black. First and foremost, hit the like button. For everybody that's watching, make sure you hit the like button. So that way this interview can be seen by more people. So more people could be educated and can learn about what it is that Chris is doing, and also just what Tech is New Black is doing. But what we talked about before is overemployment. And I'll give like a little bit of a brief synopsis. Actually, Chris, I'll let you do this, and I'll kind of tie this into the other question. Yeah. So first, if you can answer for people what overemployment is, which is something we talked about before. But to go beyond that, you have seen some more interesting things in your space. And I don't want to like lead with what it is, because I think I want to like leave you the space to share some pretty interesting things that you've seen. Yeah. And so one, can you explain to people what overemployment is? And two, some of the strange things that you've seen with you being a contracting staffer for different companies.
Yeah. So overemployment, it's double dipping. I know people that triple dip. I know supposedly there's one guy, I don't actually know him. He has 12 different AWS jobs, 12. So they all send him he's obviously remote. You have to be remote to do this. 12. He has 12 different laptops, and he writes the script on each one. And then, he's on meetings, his calendar is like meetings like crazy. But if you're just the contractor, you're not leading those meetings. Yeah. You jump on, say, boop, yep, all good. And sometimes they're at the same time, so they have to be careful. But I know people that they have all their different laptops set up for their different companies, and they're collecting multiple six figures. Yeah. 6 figures on this laptop, 6 figures on this laptop, 6 figures on this laptop. Yeah. So it's and they're able to do the job. So I don't know. Does it matter? Like if they're doing everything they have to do, I don't know.
Yeah. So what are some of there was one thing a story you shared with me when we were getting lunch, and it was a pretty interesting story about a role that you had gotten filled for a company, and then something that was later revealed that was pretty surprising to you, but the company had revealed it to you.
Yeah, there's a lot of bait and switches. Where someone else does the interview, and then the guy, the person's resume will look like whatever skill set you're looking for. Yeah. You call the guy. Okay, great. All right. He looks good. Yep. Well, on the interview with the client, it's the guy that actually knows his stuff. Yeah. So of course he aces the interview. Well, it's the other guy that shows up to work. So you have to do a lot of things to kind of uncover that. I'm like half a detective for some of these roles, because again, kind of like we were saying about the Python thing, some of these skill sets, you have the demand is up here and the supply is down here. There's just not enough Salesforce developers to go around. Yeah. Like for the demand, everyone uses Salesforce. They all need changes to Salesforce. There's not enough Salesforce developers to service all of these people. So they fake it. And these are just the ones you catch. I mean, who knows how many have gone under the radar. And I mean, there's literally been borderline criminal organizations where subject matter expert he does all the interviews. And then you have the 5 patsies and they're all in one room, right? So this guy aces all the interviews and the person whose resume you see, he's the one that starts to work. He can only do the low level tasks in whatever skill set it is. Anything big, the other guy comes in and kind of cleans it up.
Yeah.
And some of these jobs pay $100 an hour, like we were saying. So you have 5 of those guys, that's like, you get $1 million a year coming in and they get caught and they just move on to the next client. Meanwhile, someone like me is holding the bag, like you placed a fake person.
Yeah.
You didn't vet the guy. And it's like, so you have to really be diligent on making sure that, obviously, make sure that doesn't happen. I do everything I can to make sure that doesn't happen. They have caught me though. I mean, it's just nature of the beast.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, they're pulling in $1 million a year. The main guy gets more, the other guys, and kind of like you don't know anything and you're just kind of sitting on meetings and you're doing the low level work and you're looking over the guy's shoulder who comes in. After 6 months, you kind of know what you're doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you're good to go. So
yeah, that's pretty, what's crazy? Right before I got in tech, one of the things that inspired me, and it's funny because now I feel like I'm on the other side and I'm hearing like what it could look like. One of my colleagues, is more than a colleague, is a friend of mine. We were working together and we were working on building out some type of app-based business. I was not in tech. I didn't know anything about the industry. But one thing I noticed about him is that he seemed to have like an endless amount of money. And because at that time I was making $35,000, $40,000. So I think he was making $300,000 or $400,000. So that seemed like an endless amount to me. So endless amount of money, but also he seemed like he had an endless amount of time. Like he just was always available.
Yeah.
And then I asked him, I was like, bro, like, I was like, I know you work in tech, but I never see you working.
Right.
And he told me that he would get contracts from different companies. And he's like a principal level developer.
Sure.
And he would get these contracts. He said, yeah, the contract will be for $80,000 or $100,000 for 3 months worth of work. He's like, yeah, I'll accept 3 or 4 contracts at a time. I'll outsource to some junior developers.
Sure.
I'll have them do all the work. He says, I'll check up on their work once or twice a week and just make adjustments of what they're doing. He's like, and I break all of them off with like $20,000, $30,000 each. And I was like, that's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it's so funny because at the time I heard that from that perspective. But then now I'm also thinking about it now, hearing it from your perspective where I'm like, oh, okay, cool. It's like, there's always 2 sides to a story in terms of how things actually look and play out.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've even had, listen, if they hire over just a phone interview, yeah, that can happen. But I've had companies do full Zooms. I don't know if they were getting the answers off screen or someone was typing them to a screen somewhere else. But these guys aced the Zooms and they were totally fake. So it can be tricky to uncover. But it all kind of sits in the LinkedIn. That they kind of tip their hand on the LinkedIn. They'll have very few connections.
Yeah.
That's a red flag. I mean, you always say the open to work thing.
Yeah.
That's like I kind of don't mess with people with the open to work. I always tell people, take that down.
Y'all hear that? Take it down.
Yeah. That was like a great tip that you gave because I'm like, that does not help you.
Yeah.
Because there's so many low level and fake people that have that. So you kind of get lost in the shuffle there. So, but the LinkedIn is always, or I'll have them give managers and they'll just give me a phone number. I'm like, okay, that could be anyone.
Yeah.
Give me the guys. So here's another one. I was like, give me the guy's email. Okay. I get that at Gmail. Give me the guy's company email. Okay. So there are certain flags where you could be part of like a Cognizant or like a large shop at a JP Morgan or something. And so I was like, all right, this guy's a company email. I have a great reference, but it was still fake. It was just his friend saying So without the reference being on LinkedIn with a picture and I feel good about it and I communicate with them over LinkedIn, I don't really mess with them.
Yeah.
So,
man, it's so interesting.
Yeah.
There's so many layers to this.
Yeah. Because it would cost you a client.
Yeah.
They're like, that's a disaster. He's out. And I'm like,
Man,
wow, it's tough to get these clients. Let me tell you.
Oh man, that's so crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so interesting because I know most people would hear about what you do on a high level and they just think, okay, cool. So you're just finding people that are skilled and then you just, you take them to the company and that's it. It's like, it's so many layers to this.
Yeah.
That's actually crazy. It's actually very impressive. Now, so let's have a very raw discussion.
Mm-hmm.
Now, tech companies they pay their low staffing to find, vet, and we just talked a lot about the vetting process.
Sure.
They pay you to find, vet, interview, qualify, and recommend top talent for them to hire. As a business owner, it only makes sense for you to recommend people who you know that the companies would be excited to have.
Sure.
Is it harder staffing for women or Black and brown people?
So no. And the reason is, I mean, since I've been doing this for 15 years and I don't know the exact percentages, but I don't know, half of my hiring managers are Black, women, Indian, are minorities or women or both. Plenty are both, So no, I mean, to me, that's what I love about your content because, you kind of show people like, hey, these spaces are not closed off to you. Yeah. And, in my world, I know they're not closed off because some of my best candidates, some of my best clients, have been, minorities or women. Yeah. Again, or both. So no, absolutely not. I mean, I think ultimately, if you can do the job, right? Like these hiring managers, like their ass is on the line. Yeah. Right. So if you can do the job, sure, they could give it to their friend or whatever, overlook someone. But, if enough projects get messed up, you're out. Yeah. So it's kind of like the ultimate meritocracy. And for me, like I've looked at hundreds of thousands of resumes. I mean, I don't, God knows how many. Yeah. Right. So I don't even look at the name. Like, to be honest, like I was looking for reactions and someone said, well, don't put your address because they'll look up what part of town and they'll say that. I don't look at the name. I look at, okay, do they have the skills? Okay. And where they work? Okay. Yeah. All right, great. Yes. And obviously that kind of, there's like a look and feel of the person who's good enough to get the job. Yeah. And for me, that's come across all races and, and men and women. So, no, I don't, I mean, again, there's plenty of opportunity. If you can do Python, I don't care what you are. I don't care what you look like. These companies, they have these unfilled Python roles that you're going to get hired. Yeah. Like, absolutely. Yeah. So,
and that's so good. So of course, my perspective on it was the same way that you answered it, but I thought it was an important question to ask because it's one thing for someone to be an internal recruiter and ask that question, because as an internal recruiter, they're like, well, our company might have, if the company has DEI initiatives, or they say, hey, yeah, well, they're speaking for their company. Right. So of course they'll say, well, yeah, we have no bias. But it's very different with you because your business is literally on the line in terms of you providing top candidates. And so it's a very different thing for you. And you're kind of in a different space where you wouldn't be speaking for a specific business or a specific company, but more so just what it is that you've seen. And so let us know in the comments, like when you hear about this from his perspective and angle, does it kind of give you like a really unique insight? The same way that I thought it would give a unique insight. And also let us know just overall some of the things that Chris has shared so far that have really kind of opened your eyes and give you perspective, or if you just think some of the stories he shared were pretty crazy so far with some of the bait and switches that have happened.
If you're looking to break into tech, scale in your tech career, or get networking, collaboration, resources, and more, I have something huge for you. Tech is the New Black is the largest tech career platform in the world. And we've helped over 1,000 people break into six-figure tech careers and even more scale. But now we're taking it even further with our Techpreneur Discord community. This community offers high-level networking and collaboration with tech leaders, tech recruiters, and more through events, private streams, and daily group conversations. And if you're looking to break into tech, we don't just have all of the trainings and resources that you need, but we actually have partnerships with different companies that are hiring from within our community. So no matter your goal and your career, income, or business, the Techpreneur community was made for you. So text us at 404-519-2851 or just hit the link in the description to join.
Now in cities like Dubai, Vegas, and Miami, they're very interesting places to live.
Sure.
Very interesting.
You've been in all of them.
To say the
recently.
least. To say the least. Now, they all have a lot of business opportunities, but even more distractions between women, partying that looks like networking, drugs, and the lifestyle tax. What is the Brickell Miami experience like, and how does someone navigate life, business, and networking while being there?
So I've been there 2 years.
Yeah.
And the first 6 months, you're like, oh, wow.
Yeah.
Like, you do your fair share of partying. That gets old real quick. And, the new Miami, it used to just be a party town.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's becoming a business town, a tech town.
Mm-hmm.
So then you start kind of getting into those circles, entrepreneur circles. And it's kind of like, it's like one of those things people say, like, put yourself in the right rooms. Like, what rooms are you in? For me, that's like Brickell has been the right room.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, I was just walking the street and I met our friend Adam, who does American Income.
Yeah.
Right. So I do that interview, street interview, for anyone who doesn't know, do that. And then I was at another networking event. I bump into Ali. He did the interview right after me.
Yeah.
So we start talking like, oh, this guy's great. Oh, dude, you're data science project manager? Like, what? So then he's like, Cyrus, like, no, let me see. Oh, this is definitely someone I should know.
Yeah.
So then we connect.
Yeah.
And then I did your Tech Rich webinar playbook on how to monetize a podcast.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, yeah, this could be the next step for me.
Mm-hmm.
So now I've launched a podcast. Just started with me walking the street and bumped into Adam.
Man.
And 3 steps later, I've recorded 4 episodes of a podcast.
Yeah.
Like,
that's so fire.
Crazy, right?
That's crazy. Yeah. I mean, all of the people that you mentioned, I mean, especially thinking about Adam and Ali, Adam, for those of y'all don't know, like he mentioned, he's the founder of American Income, huge platform. And then Ali, I mean, man, even what they're doing with Tabler is great. Like, we legit have to have them on the podcast at some point. What they're doing with Tabler.
You do. He was my first guest.
Yeah, and that's
because I was like, dude, you got to talk about this stuff.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think, you get the partying out of the way, and then you start meeting people.
Yeah.
And again, boom.
Yeah.
One street interview, and now I'm here and launched my own podcast, Tech Jobber podcast.
Yeah.
So
what's a word of advice that you have for, because a lot of people listening, some of them have recently gotten in tech, some of them have been in tech for years, and others are going to be in tech soon. And many of them, once, they get to a certain income level, they're like, man, I'm going to move to an Atlanta, or I'm going to move to a Miami or a Vegas or a certain place. What's a word of advice that you would have to those young guys who want to maintain a level of success and thrive? And it's like, okay, yeah, you're going to party, you're going to enjoy some things, but like, what's some advice you would give them to make sure really they just don't ruin and just like mess everything up?
Yeah, well, honestly, I mean, the booze will throw off your next day.
Yeah.
If you're going to go out, try to limit it, I would say.
Do you not drink?
I've become one of those low to no.
Yeah. I'm walking towards that path.
Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, when I say low, it's probably just low. But yeah, I try to limit it because your productivity is done. You're not working out. And especially in Miami, you wake up every day is perfect. Yeah. I was in Philly, you tie one off and it's terrible outside. You're like, well, I'll just sit on the couch all day.
Yeah.
Who cares? There, you're like, you're on the couch, you feel terrible. You're looking outside. It's like perfect weather out every day.
Everybody looks like a movie star. You're like, man, I gotta.
Yeah. So, I would say, yeah, you're saying guys that have now got over a decent income level, thinking about making the move, pull the trigger. Like absolutely pull the trigger, because the types of people you'll be around, yeah, you could get into the wrong crowds, but I mean, I just kind of laid out just one scenario that has kind of changed the path of everything I'm doing. And that only happens because I got in the room. Yeah. So yeah, just make the move.
So you recently had a launch. You just touched on this briefly. You recently had a launch, really huge launch with your Tech Jobber podcast. Now you shared with me how the Tech Rich program that I produced was essential in giving you the blueprint. Now, what can people gain from checking out the Tech Jobber podcast, and how was the Tech Rich program beneficial for you?
Okay, so I would keep running into people like an Ali or you, or just people. I'd be like, oh, this guy's great. What do you do? You're a data science project manager? So in Miami, I was meeting all these kind of cool people doing apps or starting their own companies. I'm like, okay, this could definitely be a podcast. And I was already producing content. It just kind of made sense. You know, basically I was running out of things to react to anyway. It was time to kind of switch it up a little bit. And so yeah, I did your program and kind of got the blueprint to monetize. And pretty much the idea is you grow your platform while the monetization is paying for you to grow your platform. So now I looked at the landscape of tech recruiters who was producing content, and I was like, you know, these nice Miami studios, like I could produce way better content than them. Like, so I could quickly become an industry leader, get that out there. Now I'll have leads coming to me instead of me sending 1,000 emails and getting one response. Now I have people coming to me say, hey, could you fill this job? You know, so ideally down the road, I would love it to become a platform for companies to come on, pitch their company. They'll get great reels and I'll get a new client. So that's the long-term play. But you know, you gave me the blueprint again, and I'm part of these entrepreneur groups, and you kind of share what you're up to. And there's like some very high level people in some of these groups. And I was just like, yeah, you know, I started this podcast, about to film some episodes. I already have sponsors, monetization. And it was that meme of the kid saying like, you guys are getting paid for this? It was that. Everyone's like, wait, what? And like, I'm saying some of these people have done like tens and millions in company. And they're like, you're getting paid to do this? How do you get sponsors? I'm like, talk to Cyrus. So that's
so fire.
Yeah, no, it was like, I'll be honest. I thought it was like Joe Rogan and Call Her Daddy making money. And I thought everyone else were just broke people talking into microphones. I thought that was podcasting. And you kind of laid out like, no, it's not the case. Like you can make real money doing this. So I said, all right, let's do this. Like, let's do it right away. And I looked at some other, I've talked to some other people that kind of do the mentorship, but like they don't kind of teach you how to monetize. It's just like, you know, get your guests and post on Spotify. I'm like, okay.
Some stuff you probably could like Google really quickly or watch a quick YouTube video and get that stuff out of it.
So no, it's been great. I mean, again, I already have sponsors, and it's already going to start paying for itself. So I'm growing my presence, my platform, becoming an industry leader, and getting paid for it as well. So it's a win-win-win, to be honest. So,
man, that's so fire. Yeah, I was there were a lot of cool people. There were a lot of cool people that were in the that were joining the Tech Rich program when I done it live that I got to see. And yeah, you were the person I think I was most humbled by when I saw you in there. I was like, oh man, that's really cool. Like, you know, Chris is here. And so I thought that was cool. It also was cool because in my mind, I was like, okay, this is really going to put this information to the test, because it's like, okay, there are a lot of people there. Some of them weren't in tech. Most of them were in tech, but were very entry level and were just looking to be able to scale and do more. You, as far as I can remember, I think were the most seasoned person in the space. So you were someone that I looked at and I was okay. I was like, you know, I said, if Chris gains value from this, then I know that this is something worthwhile for virtually everyone.
Yeah.
Because it's like, definitely know anyone that's not in tech, they're going to get more than what they're paying for when it comes to this. And I'm like, okay, those that are seasoned in the space are going to get a lot from this. But I was like, but someone as seasoned, as knowledgeable as Chris, where he's probably heard 1,000 different things of people trying to say, hey, you could do this, you can go this route. I was like, this is going to be pretty interesting to see. I think it's really cool. So I appreciate the flowers that you gave. I do also want to mention to everybody that's watching and listening that we actually have a dedicated discount link that's specific to Chris when it comes to the Tech Rich program. Y'all know we're all about giving people discounts. So it's a dedicated discount link. So just check the show notes for the discount link that's specific. So that way you'll be able to get a discount off the Tech Rich program and be able to get some of the insights in terms of different ways to be able to monetize. Whether you are, it goes over, the entire program goes over actually how to break into tech, how to actually vet different boot camps and programs, how to operate during a boot camp, post boot camp, as well as, okay, now that you're in tech, okay, what are some things to start doing to start monetizing and making money? Even if you don't have a large following, how you can start making a certain amount of money. And it goes over a bunch of other things as well. And also, this isn't a sponsored thing. Chris actually was like, "Hey, bro, I want to talk about that."
Yeah, no, we didn't set this up. I was like, "Yo, dude, we should talk about this."
Yeah,
because I've already made probably 5x on that investment.
That's so fire.
Maybe more than that.
That's so fire, bro.
And Justin's sponsors. So
that's so fire.
So again, and that affords me the ability to pay more for better videographers, better stuff, nice studio in Miami.
Yeah.
That's all paid for by sponsors that I learned how to get via the Tech Rich program.
Yeah.
So
that's fire, bro. I love to hear that, man. I love to hear that. All right. So when we first met, we had a brief conversation referring to the decline in masculinity. Mm-hmm. And of course, we talked about tech stuff. We talked about things that you were doing in the space.
Yeah.
Towards the end, we started talking about this. And ultimately, we were discussing how men are becoming more soft, less assertive in their life, and less assertive towards their goals. What's the advice that you have for young men who are soft in their goals and in life, and really even a warning of how that can affect them later on down the line?
Yeah. So I had my second episode, I had one of the biggest AI experts really in the country. And I was like, what's it going to be like? And, we talked about, is it going to be Terminator, Matrix? And I was like, or is it just going to be a lot of like sad, unemployed men on UBI with their sex robots, like not leaving their house? And he's like, probably that.
Yeah.
So if you can get your stuff together, it's not going to be very hard to elevate above that.
Yeah.
And listen, your 20s are for, as far as at least men, for women, it's great. For your men, your 20s are for taking L's.
Yeah.
Like you're taking L's in your career. You're taking L. If you're doing sales, you're taking tons of L's. With women, you're taking a lot of L's. I certainly did. Or like Leo DiCaprio, like some models post Leo DiCaprio taking L's. Like, I took some L's. Yeah, I did. Right. So, but if you stay focused, you can turn it all around.
Yeah.
By the time you get to 30, you can be living one hell of a life.
Yeah.
But use that as fuel.
Yeah.
Because some of those women come back and they're like, oh, damn, I know. Obviously, I see based on your content. I think you've had this a couple of times where, oh wow, Cyrus, you're in Miami, you're doing you're doing so well. Yeah, well, what do you know? So you can turn it around, but use those as fuel, because whether you get laid off, whether you get left on red, whether you get blown off in the DMs, hey, take that. And basically that's someone betting against your future. Right?
Yeah.
So you can make it a good bet or a bad bet.
Yeah.
I like to make it a bad bet.
Yeah.
So
I'm not gonna lie. I definitely use a little bit of that as fuel.
Well,
like sure kind of thinking like, yo, you're gonna regret. Regret.
Right.
And that's really cool. What are some like specifics of, hey man, look, do this? Because I believe that as well. I believe that we're heading towards a future where, I mean, we see obviously OF has taken off.
Sure.
Already we're starting to see the shift of how these the OF agencies that are essentially the pimps that are pimping out the OF girls, you know, no shade to the businesses, but essentially that's what it is.
Sure.
And how they, just like Uber eventually is going to get rid of drivers and you know, they're going to rely on self-driving vehicles. OF agencies are like foaming at the mouth to be able to get rid of their girls that they're paying these $100,000, $200,000 a year salaries to be able to just have AI models instead. Yeah. And so they're foaming at the mouth for that. So we see these things happening, but they're doing this because they are reliant upon a large group of men that are what you just described.
Yeah.
And so what's advice you can give to guys to be like, hey, look, you know, because some guys will hear this and they're like, okay, man, I hear that on a high level. Okay, we already know, you know, okay, I need to, you know, maybe get in tech or do something to be able to get my bag up as a man. But what are other things you're like, hey, look, as a man, these are some key things you should have in your life consistently to make sure you're constantly leveling up and make sure you're not falling away into the fray?
Yeah, I think one thing that a lot of people, one trap a lot of people fall into is like forget about simping over women. Like people simp over politics. And it's like, man, like if we've seen anything over the last couple of years, Biden didn't save you. And now some people are like, all right, well, that sucked. Maybe Trump will come. Trump's not going to save you either if you don't do the right things for yourself.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, be informed, vote, and then be prepared for a worst case scenario.
Yeah.
And the days of, okay, I'm doing okay. Yeah, I'm getting by and living a decent life. Well, inflation has killed that. Because if you didn't get a raise in the last few years, man, you got a major demotion. And if you stayed the same, you got a demotion.
Yeah.
And if you made more money, you're making the same money, right? So, yeah, I mean, it became like it went from a luxury to level up your money to a necessity.
Yes.
So obviously we're biased. We think tech is an amazing way to do that.
Yeah.
There are other ways, but do one of them.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
And, you know, as a man, you have to constantly be building yourself. It's building your career, building your money and building your body too.
Yeah.
You know, you got to stay on all of those. So that's my advice. And you'll turn those L's into W's, and, you know, those DMs that were left on red. Oh, hey, I just saw this.
Yeah.
Really? Yeah. Nah, I'm good.